Oh, there we are. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Nobody's here.
That's okay. Do you want to wait?
Yeah, we'll wait.
Okay. Yes. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Valerie.
And this is Sheila.
We are Today's Liches.
Lady bitches.
And we're streaming now with our new video equipment.
Yay.
And we want to know how it's working on your end.
Is it better?
Is it better? We're hoping it is anyway.
Yay. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Anyway, we're Today's Liches. This is Sandwich Generation. And we are carrying over our topic from
last week.
Mm-hmm.
And it is equality.
Yeah.
And we had finished off last week by talking about perspectives.
Right.
And your perspective. We asked that you think about it. And we're wondering, did you think about it? Did you think about what your idea of equality is?
Right.
We did. A little bit, I think.
Well, we got into the meaning last week, and we knew that this was going to be a subject that for sure wasn't going to get talked about all in one.
Not in one, 15-minute conversation.
10-15-minute conversation. And how this originally started for both of us was that every topic we seemed to approach, we always found that there were underlying issues of equality. And so that's how it came about.
That's right.
So for those of you that follow along, my blog recently was on white privilege. So we thought we would give that a little go. Oh, hey, Alex.
Wow, and you're right. You didn't forget.
Yeah, and I forgot. Usually I do a shout out, but we were kind of busy and I didn't get a shout out either that we were going live. But we're live every Wednesday. So anyway, getting back to the subject at hand, I had my blog, I believe Monday or Tuesday, not quite sure.
It was Tuesday.
White privilege. Right.
And what it really is.
And what it really means. So I'll speak first and then I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was quite an eye-opener. So when the first time I heard white privilege, I was offended. And I'm not going to lie, I was extremely offended. I thought okay, why are you attacking me? You don't know me. Right? You don't know who I am, what I'm about. I haven't a racist bone in my body, and I certainly don't consider myself privileged. So I didn't grow up in an affluent home, and I'm not living on a trust fund because in my mind, that was the privilege that I was relating to. And for whatever reason, this sat with me for quite a long time, and I couldn't let it go. And then I was watching TikTok one day, and there was an Indigenous lady, and from our local area, actually, who had posted something on TikTok about how she was treated when she left the hospital. And that experience is what opened my eyes, because as she was explaining, she was leaving the hospital. It was an afternoon and she was walking down the sidewalk and she saw two men coming towards her. And so because of her experiences and because of her upbringing, she was always told to sort of avoid situations. So she left the sidewalk as they approached and moved out onto the grass to let them pass, and then proceeded to go back to the sidewalk. And at that time, these men started berating her, calling her a squaw and saying that she knows how to get out of the way for the white man. You know your place. Go back to the res, you fat squaw, or something like that. And I was brokenhearted. Thought, how is that possible? Like, why would anybody?
I can't even imagine.
Right. And that's when it hit me, what white privilege, because I never have that concern when I walk down the street.
Nope.
Right. And it's because of the color of my skin. And when I go to a job interview, I'm never concerned that I might not be hired because of the color of my skin. I would be more concerned I might not be hired because I'm because I'm overweight or something like that, but not because of the color of my skin or my race or anything. And I think that's when I realized that we had a privilege we didn't know we had, or we weren't enlightened enough to see we had. Just like everybody else out there, I just assume like I'm like everybody else. And, the thing is that you go to work, you earn money, you look after your family.
Right.
Everybody's chasing a living, right? Trying to provide for your family. And I assume everybody else is doing the same thing and not giving one thought to how much easier the opportunities may have been for me because of the color of my skin, right?
Yeah.
However,
maybe even not how much easier, but how much harder it would have been if
the color of my skin was different. Would I have had the same results? I guess that's what it's kind of.
Yeah.
And then realize
the privilege of not having to be put in that situation.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's the conversation. Oh, Alice, sorry, I didn't mean to stop, but apparently she's feeling bad for the dog in the background that you will see at the door.
Because he can't come in.
Because he can't come in. So, yeah. I don't feel bad for him. No.
But carry on.
Okay. So anyways, that is how I sort of came across my aha moment when it came to white privilege. So, and I'm interested in finding out, I can't be the only one who took offense to it at first.
I'm going to put my hand up.
Okay.
Okay, because I took offense.
Okay.
I was one of them.
Okay.
And this is where my opinion was. I was one of those people, and I'm openly going to say it, that completely took offense to the words white privilege. And part of the reason for that was because of the way I was raised. And that I didn't feel that I was raised in some kind of privilege. I didn't feel that I had, like my sister said, a trust fund available, or that there was things, that I had more available to me because of the color of my skin. So I took offense to anybody saying that, I had white privilege. Then I stopped and I thought about it.
Yeah.
And kind of like you.
Right.
With the situation. And I thought, oh, wait a second. Maybe the privilege they're talking about is the privilege of not having to worry about it.
Yes.
Of not even having to worry about the color of your skin.
Yes.
Or the color, or whether you're brown, or whether you're black, or whether you're dark skin of any nature.
Right.
And I think that the only other persons that can truly understand how much that must feel are those that are handicapped or disabled with visible disabilities.
Right.
And I say visible.
Right.
Because we still don't treat people who have had mental disabilities.
No.
Equally.
No.
So we won't even go there.
Yes.
Okay. So staying on point here, I had written a couple things down, and I did look up something because I really felt that white privilege was an understatement. It's actually more social equality. And I looked it up. Social equality is the state of affairs in which all people within a specific society have the equal right, liberties, and status, possibly including civil rights, freedom of speech, property rights, equal access to certain social goods, and social services. So I was trying to put so you understand what I'm saying? That's social equality. And white privilege is part of that social equality.
Yes, it is.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
Okay. So I guess one of my statements, or one of the things that I looked at when I was looking at it, was some of the things that maybe I could put into context some of the things I was saying.
Okay.
So, and here I go. So You know how we've said for years that, and I've heard it within my own family, within other people, that most Aboriginals, most First Nations people are or have been alcoholics. It's just something that we've heard. We've heard that most of them have alcohol problems, can't handle alcohol. Yes? And here's the thing. We also heard from them, I argue back, that from First Nations people, that white men introduced them to this alcohol. Right. Yes? And that we did it as a power source, which I don't believe we knew at the time that they were going to have a problem with alcohol in their own communities.
Okay,
yes?
What I say is we have no idea of what was in our forefathers' minds.
Okay, so I also argue back that social equality and the lack of it is the reason why that problem is still a problem in their nations today. Alcohol is still a problem in their nations today. And it's because they have not had they didn't get any of that infrastructure, any of that stuff
or the supports,
that those were not equal. Okay. The delving out of it was not equal.
So but here's the issue. Like I said to you earlier, I would argue.
Yeah.
In Canada, I believe our First Nations have been more discriminated against than any other community or population or minority population out there. And our history definitely proves it,
yes.
Right? That we haven't always been so kind. And I'm reminded of that song by Johnny Cash. They called him Drunken Ira Hayes.
Right.
A whiskey drinking Indian, a Marine that went to war. And yeah.
You see where I'm going?
And that is something that has.
But a lot of it was because of the social equality was not occurring.
For everybody. Right.
Okay, so, and we said that equality is like equality of rights. Yeah, you may have the right to the education, and you may have the right, but if you can't access it, you may have the right to medical care, but if you can't access that medical care,
right.
I mean, reasonably, without,
And like I said last week, going right back to the fundamental fact that there are communities that do not have clean drinking water in Canada. One, we have the most precious resource in the world, clean water, right? That's one of our precious resources. Two,
does not mean you can go and drink out of the lake.
Just saying. But two, in this day and age, 2020, 2021,
thank you, Lonnie Dogs.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's something wrong in a nation like Canada to the outside world, where we purport to be so inclusive and so accepting and peaceful and respectful, and we treat some of our own populations the way we do, and we still have people in this country that don't have clean drinking water. There's something wrong with that.
So it's not that the rights aren't available.
It's that they don't have access to them. And you're right, social equality. So that every community has access to the same privileges.
That's what I mean by white privilege.
Exactly. That it shouldn't matter whether
it's not an X on being white. It doesn't mean that I, myself being white, should be walking around with my head down ashamed of who I am. That's not what they're saying.
No.
This is not what they're saying. And I finally it's taken me a long time to get it, but I get it. And I want to have one more conversation. And it's something you and I discussed earlier, and I had been thinking about earlier today.
Okay.
And I had written it down, as you can see, my little notepad here.
Right on, Lonnie.
The one thing with equality that we have to understand is that everybody, all sides, all people want it.
And
all
that's
people
true.
want it,
We all want it.
We all want it.
For everyone.
And we all want it for, yes, we all want it.
Or at least,
but then
I assume.
They tout that they want it. Okay.
Okay.
But then inside comes this little tiny fear that grows.
Yeah.
Remember we had talked
about the fear. The fear.
The fear that goes with it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the fear. The fear that goes with it. And I wrote down some of these things in order to get the equality out there that we're talking about, that people need and deserve and respect. Okay. On the First Nation side, these are friends of mine that have actually said these things. So they have the fear of the loss of their treaties or them not being respected. They have the fear of their losing their language, their history, their culture, their religions. People have the fear of losing core fundamental community beliefs.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They fear who they are will be lost.
And it's a legitimate fear.
They fear the loss of their music, even.
Right. Their culture.
Right.
Who they are.
Right. Okay. And on the white person's side.
Okay.
When I've talked to people in my own community, my own family, my own friends.
Right.
I hear, when they make statements, I hear these fears.
Right.
And behind them are fears. They fear the loss of jobs. I'm not sure why, but they do.
Always.
They fear the loss of income and taxes going up. They fear the cost of the infrastructure to help these communities. They fear the cost of the retribution and payments and how they're actually going to get paid, means coming out of the pockets also. They fear not being able to afford to send their own kids to school, but paying for others through their taxes to go to school. They fear looking after the roads, etc., and all the stuff and infrastructure that's used by all communities.
Right.
And them being the only people responsible for them. They fear going to work each day of the year. I put going to work each day your life and still not being able to make ends meet. They fear, and I finally realized it, it's almost a fear of loss.
But
loss of something.
Okay, so you're right. But and the only I equate it to this. There are certain words that are triggers, right? And for me, the word diet is a trigger. To me, it means deprivation. It means
very good.
I'm deprived. So I hate that word. And so I think what happens is fear. That's what it is. And that's when I got my aha moment. I have never been fearful going into a job interview. I've never been fearful that I wouldn't get the job because of the color of my skin.
No,
right.
Neither have I.
But I can see how that is a legitimate fear when you are not white, right?
Yeah.
And social equality, before we can move to true equality, we need the framework within our own government first.
Communities.
And we need to move that outward, right?
Yeah.
To include all of the communities. I know
and
there's
people in general have to also stop and look within.
Right.
Take some responsibility.
How can you give back something you have taken? Okay, so this is where I'm at a complete loss. For 5 generations, our government allowed religious organizations to take children from their families and put them in a residential school, Catholic, whatever. Anglicans were involved, and so were the Protestants, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyways, and take them away from their families for 5 generations, because the last school just closed in 1992.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
No, but the reality of that situation is you have deprived those families of their culture, their heritage, their religious, everything they are about for 5 generations. How do you give that back? How do you give that back? You can't.
No.
You can't give that back. Not
No.
all the money in the world can't give that back.
No.
And this isn't about money. This is about the reality.
I mean, yes, it's going to cost money.
Hey, Brent.
But it is about a reality.
Right. And that's the frustrating part, going back to the white privilege. For a long, like I said,
I just really never understood it.
I
always took it as an attack on me because, whoa, I'm white.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess you could say that would be the first time I really had a look at it.
Mm.
And I did get offended the first time. I won't lie.
No, and so did I. And it bothered me. I didn't want to be offended. I couldn't understand why I was offended. But when I look back, when I took offense to a statement, a generalized statement, because
and you know how I feel about them.
Yes. Because I didn't feel I fell in that category. You don't know me. How can you make that statement? But then it took a little bit of soul searching, but we all have those aha moments, my aha moment, your aha moment, when you actually realize what white privilege is.
I completely agree. You can't undo what's been done, but we as a people can recognize the wrongdoings and plot a path forward that is inclusive.
Absolutely.
That includes
everybody.
Exactly.
Right. And this is not about taking anybody's rights away, because inherently those treaties and
yes, you're right. And the children were also abused. Yes.
No, absolutely. I mean, I thought that was a given. I'm sorry if I didn't. We won't get into the children that went missing and the empty graves. We won't get into the abuse, sexual, physical abuse that these kids went through.
Yeah.
And here's what bothers me. All in the damn name of God.
Yeah.
That's what gets me. In the damn name of God.
Yeah.
Wars in the name of God.
God's.
Religion. Because if you truly believe that your God would wish this upon any human being, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the reality, that's what really bothers me the most.
Yeah.
I think that this was all done and it wasn't done. Oh, that happened hundreds of years ago. Yeah, it did. But it continued for 5 generations.
Up until 1992.
And you can't, the 5 generations we took for them, it's going to take 5 generations for them to heal.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And yes, we have moved to reconciliation. I am very pleased about that. But there is no wonder why these people do not trust us.
Yeah.
And I should not say us, the government.
Right. And Lonnie, and the most important part is the recognition that it happened, and in some cases still happening. And
true.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
We have to understand that the social equality that we're talking about, that we're asking about, that we're speaking about all night here, this is still happening. Inequality. The social inequality is still occurring.
It's still happening.
And as white individuals, white privilege, and I know it's hard to hear those words without taking offense.
Right.
Without understanding it, we can't. And once we've recognized it, yes, but now it's up to us.
Yes.
The individual, to make sure others recognize it. Our children, our it's time for this to end. Right,
it is. It's time to forge a new future that's all inclusive, but that includes getting to the polls and voting. Right,
people.
It really does.
And we don't care who you vote for.
Don't.
There's the cool thing.
We could care less.
Neither one of us could.
No,
don't
we
give
don't.
two shits who you vote for.
No.
Just
Vote. And I say this because I've heard so many times by so many people, well, I don't vote for anybody because they're all crooks or they're all a piece of crap or whatever.
Then it just never
But
stops.
here's the
Nothing
point.
changes.
Yeah, but here's the point. Still go vote. You go down to that voting office and you get that ballot and you check off every one of them because they count.
Yes.
Invalid votes count. They count them. And if all of a sudden there's 200,000 invalid votes, what do you think the politicians are saying? Oh my God, 200,000 Canadians got off their asses, went down to the polling station to send us a message. They're not voting for any of us. There is still a way to do it.
You're right, Brent. Education of our youth to Canada's true history,
Yes.
not watered down, is the best path to true change. This is a transgenerational issue, and there isn't no simple solution. And that is exactly how it ends. Starts at home. And you said it correctly. The new generation is the key to change. It starts
At home. It does.
Your children, your children's children. If you are a teenager, if you are a 70-year-old, if you are an 80-year-old, if you are a 15-year-old, it's time for us as individuals to make some changes.
Right.
And not be afraid to have these open dialogue, respectful conversations.
So I recently saw a post, and I can't remember because we're on so many platforms, where an Indigenous little girl, it was dress up day at school. So they have a ribbon dress. That's what it was. A ribbon skirt.
Yeah. Anyways,
so she got all dressed up in her ribbon skirt and she went to school. And the teacher's aide, not the teacher, pulled her aside and told her that that wasn't a true fancy dress, right? And now the support that came afterwards was incredible, people. It really, really was. But that shouldn't have occurred to begin with. You should not be shamed for your heritage. She was proud of it. And that's why I think that it's very, like everybody is stating on here, education is key. Talk about it. Keep the dialogue open.
Keep it open, keep it respectful. But the other thing is, if you, I can't say it enough when I say, if openly make sure to confront that openly with respect.
Yes.
To confront it when you see it or hear it. Don't be afraid to say or call it.
That's wrong. Yeah.
That's wrong. Or no, I can't go for this. And no, this can't be right. I guess that's the difference between a principled or unprincipled person. That, like, if you're a principled person, you find the line and you have to draw it.
Right.
And I think we
our
create responsibility
our
now,
right,
to make sure that we create that boundary, that this cannot ever go backwards anymore.
And I think it's our responsibility.
Yes,
as
we
Canadians.
have to keep each other in check.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's our responsibility as Canadians as well, that when we see injustice, and that's the sad part, within our own country, let's look after let's look after
in our country.
Ourselves first. I mean,
we say look after ourselves first, but I mean, we're an international country. That's not what we mean. What we're saying is we should
look after our own, within our own country.
Do you remember that old saying that our Nana used to say? People in glass houses should not throw stones.
True.
And I remember that's very much goes for our country as well.
Right.
We have.
We're very quick to pass judgment on other countries that have inequality issues or racial issues or whatever. Yet we have had it going on in our own country for years. And to say and prop it all up and dust it under the table and say, oh, it's all fixed now. No. And until we are all socially equal, it will not be fixed. There's no chance of it getting fixed.
Right. Right. Like the U.S., right? I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But
Not
remember,
that
they're
they don't
also
have some
90
issues.
years
Older.
And if you repress the conversation for 90 more years here in Canada,
We'll,
if we repress that dialogue for 90 more years here in Canada, guess what?
we will be
Addressing this issue. My grandchildren will be addressing this issue.
Right. Exactly. And that's the reality. Because they may be
It
90.
will explode.
Yeah, they may be 90 years older than us. Well, let's learn and hope we're not there in 90 years. Let's move forward in our own country to create a new reality where every community in Canada is socially equal.
Socially equal.
Socially equal.
Yeah. And again, like I said, just because we have equal rights, and we do across this nation,
We do.
have equal rights.
We just don't, not
We
everybody.
all have access to those rights.
Right. We
Any
don't
of
all
those
have
rights.
access, not all communities, not every person has access to those basic human rights in Canada. And that has to be
And
fixed.
like medical care and that. I mean, there should be, yeah, we won't
And
go there.
I mean,
But,
we could talk about it for
We're
days.
not even going to go there. We're just saying.
Yeah. Hot topic.
White privilege was a hot topic.
It's a hot topic all the way around.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's
What?
it's 6:30.
Oh, wow. We went way past, people, way past. But
Can
it
you
was
tell?
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome because we're passionate about it. And I think that's why. Hey, stay tuned.
Honesty. And we're going to have another conversation.
Yeah, I think next week we'll carry into next week and we'll dive a little bit deeper and get into the other inequalities. So have a good night. We hope we gave you something to chew on. And we'll see you next week. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, and don't forget to see us at 2dayslunches.com.